The soft hum of the city filtered through the tall glass windows of my office, mixing with the quiet rhythm of my wheels gliding across the marble floor. I paused by the window, fingers grazing the cool edge of the frame, watching the morning light catch the skyline. I never thought I'd see it from this height, not just physically, but emotionally. My name is Emily Carter, and people see me as the woman who made it, the founder of a successful design firm, the one who turned limitations into innovation. But what they don't see is the shadow that still lingers behind my calm smile. I was reviewing a client proposal when my phone buzzed, a notification from my old high school's alumni page. 20-year reunion, this weekend. The words flashed across the screen like an old wound reopening. My throat tightened before I could stop it. I hadn't been back since that day, the day my sister decided I was too weak to stand on my own. I set the phone down gently, letting out a slow breath. My reflection in the glass looked composed, hair pinned perfectly, silk blouse smooth, lipstick unshaken. Yet beneath it all, my heart pounded with the same ache I'd buried for years. Maybe it's time, I whispered to my reflection. Time they finally see who I became after the fall. I was 16 when everything changed. The accident had already stolen my ability to walk, but I didn't realize it would also steal my sister's kindness. Back then, Sarah and I were inseparable. She was the star athlete, the girl everyone loved. I used to cheer for her from the bleachers, clutching my sketchbook and smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. But after the accident, the distance between us grew like a silent wall. Suddenly, my presence embarrassed her. My wheelchair made people stare, and Sarah couldn't stand being pitted. One morning, the school hallway smelled of fresh wax and perfume, from posters covered every wall. I rolled up beside Sarah, trying to show her the design I'd made for her team's banner. "Look," I said brightly. "I thought you might like." Before I could finish, she snapped. "Stop following me, Emily. People already think I'm your babysitter." Laughter echoed around us from her friends. I froze, my hands gripping the metal rims of my wheels. I wanted to disappear. Then it happened. She gave the wheelchair a hard shove. It wasn't violent enough to cause damage, but it was cruel enough to send me tipping backward, my sketchbook scattering across the floor. Gasps filled the hallway. I remember the cold tile biting my palms, the sound of my own breath hitching, and Sarah's whisper, low and sharp, "You fell because you're weak." The world blurred. I wanted to scream, to tell her how much I needed her. But instead, I just stared at the ceiling, blinking back tears. Later that day, my grandmother found me crying in her garden. She didn't ask what happened. She just pressed a small silver pendant into my hand. It had a single word etched on it. "Rise." "Strength isn't in your legs, sweetheart," she said softly. "It's in your heart. And that's something no one can push down." That night, I made a promise to myself, not to prove Sarah wrong, but to prove myself right. I would rise, no matter how many times I fell. College was my second beginning. I chose a university 3 states away from home, where no one knew the girl in the wheelchair, or the sister who had humiliated her. I arrived with 2 suitcases, a scholarship, and my grandmother's pendant tucked close to my chest. At first, it was brutal. The dorm elevators broke often, the campus sidewalks were uneven, and the stairs still came, the same kind I thought I'd escaped. But something inside me had changed. Every uneven ramp became a challenge, not an obstacle. I studied industrial design, drawn to creating spaces and tools that gave people like me freedom, real freedom. While other students focused on sleek trends and flashy concepts, I obsessed over small things: the angle of a handle, the softness of a seat edge, the quiet dignity and accessibility done right. It was during my sophomore year that I met Professor Jacobs, a retired designer, who noticed me sketching late one night in the studio. "You design like someone who's lived through her own blueprint," he said. That line stuck with me. He became my mentor, the first man who looked past the chair and saw the architect within. He helped me apply for a grant to develop a project, a lightweight, customizable wheelchair designed for both comfort and beauty. I poured every ounce of emotion into it. The frustration, the longing, the stubborn hope. There were nights I fell asleep at my desk, my hands streaked with graphite, my eyes burning. The first prototype failed spectacularly. The frame bent under pressure, and I cried alone in my dorm room until sunrise. But then I remembered Grandma's voice. Strength is in your heart. So I tried again. And again. By graduation, my design had won the National Innovation Award. A magazine published a feature calling it the wheelchair that redefined independence. Investors reached out, and a startup invited me to collaborate. I didn't tell my family, not because I hated them. I just couldn't bear the thought of hearing, "Wow, you actually did something." Instead, I sent short, polite messages. When Sarah texted once, "You okay these days?" I replied, "Yeah, doing fine." Years passed. My designs evolved into a full-fledged company, Rise Mobility, named after Grandma's pendant. We built tools that changed lives. I became the CEO, working quietly, staying out of the spotlight. Success was never about revenge. It was about peace, the kind that came from knowing I had turned pain into purpose. Still, there are nights I'd look at that old photo of Sarah and me, two sisters in matching dresses, laughing, and wonder if she ever regretted that shove. Now, with the reunion invitation glowing on my phone, I knew I'd soon find out. The reunion was held at a fancy downtown hotel, the kind where chandeliers dripped with gold light and every corner smelled faintly of expensive perfume and nostalgia. As I rolled through the glass doors, the air shifted, a soft hush, a ripple of surprise. I'd arrived earlier than most, dressed in a navy satin dress that caught the light when I moved. My wheelchair gleamed, sleek, custom-designed, and completely my own creation. A young event assistant rushed over. "Ms. Carter, it's such an honor to have you here. The alumni coordinator said your company sponsored tonight's accessibility upgrades." "Thank you." I smiled, happy to help. A few minutes later, laughter erupted across the ballroom. Familiar voices, the kind that used to echo down school hallways. And then I saw her.
Sarah.
She looked almost the same, just older. Confident posture, polished smile, but the same piercing blue eyes that once held contempt. When her gaze landed on me, she froze mid-sentence. "Emily." Her voice faltered, disbelief and guilt colliding in her tone. I turned slightly, keeping my composure. "Hey, Sarah. It's been a while." She blinked, eyes flickering over my designer dress, the elegant wheelchair, the quiet authority in my voice. "You look different. Successful." I said softly, letting the word hang between us. Around us, old classmates began to recognize me. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "That's Emily Carter, the founder of Rise Mobility, right? She's on Forbes' list this year." "Wait, that's her?" Sarah's smile wavered. "You're the CEO of Rise?" "I am." I watched her swallow hard. "The company's named after Grandma's pendant. Remember that?" I touched the small silver charm at my neck, the one that still read Rise. The reunion host, overhearing, beamed. "Everyone, please welcome tonight's surprise guest, Emily Carter. Her innovations have transformed accessibility nationwide. She's one of our school's most accomplished alumni." Applause filled the room. For a moment, I just sat there, letting the sound wash over me, not out of pride but closure. When the noise faded, I turned back to Sarah. "Funny," I said gently. "You used to tell me I'd never stand on my own. Turns out I didn't have to." Her eyes shimmered, not with arrogance this time, but shame. "Emily, I was awful to you. I don't even know why I cut in softly. You don't owe me excuses. We were kids. But you owe yourself forgiveness, and maybe a little reflection." A silence lingered. She looked like she wanted to cry. "I saw your work online," she murmured. "I just never thought it was you." "It was always me," I said with a faint smile. "I just needed time to build the kind of world where people like us could rise." Later that evening, as guests mingled and music swelled, I noticed Sarah standing off to the side, watching me, not with jealousy, but admiration. For the first time, She saw me not as the sister she pitied or pushed away, but as the woman who refused to stay down. And for the first time, I saw her as something more than the girl who hurt me. I saw her as someone capable of change. The next morning, I sat in the hotel cafe, sipping coffee and scrolling through messages from people who'd seen my speech the night before. "You inspired me," one woman wrote. "My daughter was just diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. You gave us hope." I was replying when I noticed Sarah walking hesitantly toward me. Her usually confident stride seemed slower, heavier. She stopped at my table, clutching a cup of tea like it might anchor her. "Can I sit?" she asked softly. I gestured to the chair across from me. "Sure." For a moment, neither of us spoke. She looked tired, not physically, but in the way guilt wears someone down over the years. "I barely slept last night," she said finally. I kept thinking about that day, about how cruel I was. I met her gaze, steady and calm. "You were scared," I said. "We both were. You lost the sister you knew, and I lost the life I thought I'd have. We just handled it differently." Her eyes filled with tears. "You're being kind, but I don't deserve it. I treated you like a burden. I was jealous of the attention, the sympathy. I hated myself for it, so I took it out on you." I let her words hang between us, then said quietly, "You're right. You don't deserve forgiveness. You have to earn it." She blinked, startled. I leaned forward slightly. "If you really want to make things right, start by helping others stand or roll taller. Volunteer, mentor, advocate. Do something that doesn't center you, but heals someone else. That's the condition." Her lips trembled. "I will," she whispered. "I promise." I nodded. "Good. Because forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about growth. And I'm not the same girl you pushed down. I'm the woman who learned to rise higher because of it." She exhaled shakily, then smiled. A real one, small but honest. "You know, Grandma would be proud of you." "I hope so," I murmured, touching the pendant at my neck. She believed strength was a choice. I just finally chose it. Before she left, she paused and said, "Emily, if you ever need me, I'll be there this time." I gave a small, bittersweet smile. "Maybe someday I will. But for now, I need you to be there for someone else." As she walked away, I watched the sunlight spill across the cafe floor, golden and clean. The power between us had shifted, not through revenge or wealth, but through clarity. She carried the guilt. I carried the grace. And for the first time in our lives, that balance finally felt right. Months passed after the reunion, and life settled into a calm rhythm again. My company kept growing, new designs, new partnerships, but something deeper had shifted in me. I no longer carried the weight of proving myself. I'd already done that. Now I wanted peace. Sarah started volunteering at a local rehab center, helping teens with physical disabilities. She sent me pictures sometimes, her kneeling beside a girl in braces, teaching her how to paint, her smiling next to a boy learning to use his first mobility aid. At first, I didn't reply. I just watched, quietly proud. One evening, she called me out of the blue. "Hey," she said softly. "There's this girl here. She reminds me of you. She keeps saying she feels less than." I told her about you, about how my sister built something beautiful from the ground up. "She wants to meet you someday." I smiled into the phone. "Maybe she will. Just tell her she's stronger than she knows." After we hung up, I rolled to my balcony, the city glowing beneath me. The air was cool, the kind that makes you feel alive in every breath. I touched Grandma's pendant, the one that still read Rise, and felt her words echo through me once more. "Strength isn't in your legs, sweetheart. It's in your heart." The past no longer hurt the way it used to. It had become something else, a story, a lesson, a foundation. As I looked out over the skyline, I thought about that hallway so many years ago, the cold floor, the laughter, the sting. It all seemed so far away now. I wasn't the girl who fell anymore. I wasn't even the woman who rose. I was the one who kept rising, every time, in every way. My sister once called me weak for falling. She just didn't realize. That's how I learned to fly. Bottom of form.